Hello! Shout out to Martin69 for this video idea. Today, I'm going to be going over the best youngster from every single country that's participating in the World Cup. Now obviously, as most of you know, the Best Young Player award is given at the end of the World Cup tournament, and this award has an age limit of 21 years old. So for each country, I tried to go for players that are eligible for this award, but there were a few cases where there were some national teams that haven't selected anyone that qualifies for the award. And then there are a few countries that haven't really solidified a youngster that will be able to get this award, but they still have some other young talent that are worth mentioning. So there are a few examples where I threw in a few players that are a bit older than the age of 21, max 23 years old by the time the tournament starts. But yeah, that's the only disclaimer before the video. Let's kick things off, starting off with the host, Qatar. I have selected Homam Ahmed. He will be 23 years old by the time the World Cup begins, and he plays left back for the national team. He's actually their youngest player in the squad at the moment. He's been getting regular playing time for the national team for about a year now. Ever since a friendly on July 4th, 2021 against Honduras, he's been mostly put on the pitch for 90 minutes or so. Now for Ecuador, there's obviously a million decisions, as this is probably going to be the youngest squad at the World Cup. But I still think this was a fairly easy choice because he's also regarded as one of their best players for the national team. I've gone for the center back Hincapié. He'll be 20 years old by the time the World Cup rolls around, and he currently plays for Bayer Leverkusen. There's obviously the likes of the midfielders Moises Caicedo, Gonzalo Plata, but I do feel like Hincapié's talent is recognized the most. I mean, his market value is going up rapidly. I mean, the fact that this guy is regarded as one of Ecuador's best players, along with the best young player on the team, just goes to show. Now for Senegal, I've gone for Pape Matar Sarr. He's a 19-year-old midfielder. He has just been loaned to Metz from Tottenham Hotspur. And he's actually scored some beautiful and clinical goals in the French league. He made his debut with Senegal in March 2021 against Congo, and he obviously was part of that squad that won AFCON 2022. We'll see if he ends up staying in the Premier League this time, but regardless, he's going to be a very exciting player to watch at this tournament. Now for Netherlands, this pick is somewhat straightforward, yet also tricky at the same time. There are so many exciting young talents taking over the football scene in this country, yet a lot of them get rotated in and out of the squad. There are options like Wijndal, Malakia, but I have decided to go for RYAN-GRAVENBERCH, who has just signed for Bayern Munich. He is a very promising 20-year-old midfielder that can definitely cause damage for the Netherlands at the World Cup. The lad has one hell of a shot on the right foot, scores bangers when he's feeling confident. We'll obviously have to see how he does at Bayern Munich, but at the moment he looks very promising. Now for England. Ooh, again another challenge. This squad is filled with young players as well. However, there are many that are just falling short from that Young Player of the Year award, such as Phil Foden, who actually grabbed it for the Premier League this year, but he is now going to be 22 years old by the time the World Cup rolls around. So for me, it's either between Saka, one of Arsenal's favorites, or Jude Bellingham, one of the few players that doesn't play domestically in England for the Premier League, is still killing it in the Bundesliga. I'm going to have to choose him. He's one of the biggest prospects in world football. He is only 19 years old, and it's crazy how good he is at his age. Most people are anticipating him to join the Premier League at some point, and imagine how crazy good he's going to be in 3 to 4 years' time. Now for Iran, I have gone for Alaher Sayedmanesh, a 21-year-old striker playing for Hull City. At the beginning of last season at Zorya Luhansk, he scored 7 goals and got 4 assists in 16 matches. His loan so far at Hull City was not as thrilling as that, with just 1 goal. We'll see if he can end up tallying those numbers in the future, but regardless, his positioning is phenomenal, very skillful, and obviously on his day, he can score the goals. Iran really have some quality attackers to choose from. With Taremi and Azmoun already looking like a deadly partnership, we'll see if there's any room for this top talent. Now for the USA, there's obviously a lot of young talent in this squad, but I think the clear winner is Gio Reyna. He's only 19 years old at the moment, will be 20 once the World Cup begins, and he looks like one of the best talents the USMNT has. Unfortunately, he gets injured way too much, which could potentially be halting that break in his career. Whenever he's fully fit though, his passing and especially dribbling are absolutely on point. He's probably the most talented US player I have ever seen. It would be an absolute shame if he is not fit for the World Cup, but if not, like I said, there are still loads of other options that the US can rely on. but he still will be greatly missed. Good luck, Gio Reyna. Now for Wales, I've gone for Neco Williams. 21 years old fullback. He had an exceptional spell at Fulham last season. Very hardworking and some of the best enthusiasm I've seen in a player that represents his club and country. With the amount he pushes up, people say he should play as a winger, but I think he does a fantastic job at his role. This is the perfect caliber of young talent any squad would be happy to have. Wales are obviously absolutely blessed, but I truly hope he gets a decent amount of playing time at the World Cup. Now for Argentina, I've gone for a somewhat obvious choice, Julian Alvarez, the forward who is just 22 years old. Unfortunately, Alvarez is just too old for the Young Player of the Tournament award. And obviously, there's a lot of young talent that comes from Argentina, but none of them are being consistently utilized for the senior national team. Obviously, that's subject to change, but still, I think Alvarez deserves the credit for the Young Player of this squad. He has scored a ridiculous amount of goals so far for River Plate. Last season, he got 18 goals and 7 assists in 21 appearances in Liga Profesional. Hopefully, he gets a decent amount of playing time for Manchester City, along with Argentina, as we all know, both have phenomenal forward options. Regardless, though, he's one for the future, without a doubt. Now, for Saudi Arabia, I've gone for Firas Al Buraikan. 20-year-old striker, obviously playing domestically for Saudi Arabia. He's already got 6 goals with the national team, only 2 behind top scoring striker in Saudi Arabia, Saleh Al-Shehri. Saudi Arabia are not known well for their striker options, so maybe this lad can be the difference and the future for Saudi Arabia. Now for Poland, I've gone for Nikola Zalewski, the 20-year-old left midfielder that plays for Roma. He's a very technical and promising player. Actually, at the moment, he only has 5 caps for the national team, but he definitely looks promising and is very much believed to be the future for Poland. And who knows, within this season, he can prove himself to become a regular starter by the time the World Cup rolls around. Last season, the lad grabbed a few crucial assists in the Conference League, one of them being a beauty against Leicester. Poland fans, I know, are very happy to have such a bright talent. Now for Mexico. Not only is Diego Lainez not eligible for the Young Player of the Tournament award anymore, but also he really dipped in form. We'll see if he's going to be able to regain his form and get playing time for the World Cup, but he barely plays for Real Betis at the moment, not getting much playing time for the national team as well. So I've decided to go for the 18-year-old attacking midfielder on Arsenal, Marcelo Flores. He is currently in the Arsenal's U23 system, and overall throughout all of his appearances, he directly contributes in at least half the goals. Definitely a great snag from El Tri, as he could have also represented Canada as well. Now for France, there are so many young players on this side, but a lot of them just fall out of that Young Player of the Year qualifications. For example, the likes of Tchouaméni will be 22, but you've still got a great midfielder that also plays for Real Madrid, Camavinga. He doesn't always start for Real Madrid, but he actually gets a decent amount of playing time, definitely considered in Ancelotti's plan, adds loads of extra energy for the Madrid squad. But yeah, when this guy was playing for Rennes last season, he was one of the best talents in the French league. Now for Denmark, again, there are so many players that just fall out of that Young Player of the Year award. My go-to would have been Damsgaard, who had an incredible Euro tournament. We all remember that amazing free kick he scored against England. Such an intelligent player. There's also Lindstrom, who's 22 now. So my go-to youngster who will be eligible for this award hasn't had that breakthrough for the senior national team yet, but definitely saw as a possibility to, is Mohamed Daramy, who signed for Ajax last year. Obviously, if Ajax decided to sign this guy, you already know there's a great future ahead of him. He's got to be one of the best talents the Danish league has ever produced, and hopefully gets that breakthrough through the national team, as Denmark love to utilize all the talent they possess. Now for Tunisia, I've gone for Hannibal Mejbri, the 19-year-old midfielder at Manchester United. I know there's a lot of other great players, like Slimane on Brøndby, who has 4 goals for the national team, but Mejbri is still looking for that breakthrough in the Manchester United squad. Maybe Ten Hag will consider him as an option. He's a lot faster of a player than you'd expect in terms of his actual pace and thoughts on the pitch. I'm going to have to choose him for sure. Now for Australia, I've got for Denis Grenell, the 23-year-old center mid who actually just got promoted to the first French division with Toulouse after just winning the 2nd league. The problem for Australia is it's a bit tough to judge, as a lot of the young players in the squad have not had much of an impact for the national team yet. But obviously we have many months until the World Cup begins, so hopefully he'll be able to shine at this tournament, as he was very impressive for his club. Now for Germany, this video feels wrong to not go about the 19-year-old everyone's talking about at the moment, Musiala. Absolutely exquisite dribbling. Many people consider him to be the best young player in the world at the moment. When you watch him, it looks like he's been on Bayern for years, so adaptive to their system. Another option that could definitely be a contender for the young player of the tournament is WIRTZ. He just had a crucial injury back in March and is still recovering. But what a player. He directly contributed in 17 goals out of 24 matches in the Bundesliga last season. It's safe to choose either of these players in my opinion, but I'm gonna go with Musiala as my pick. The amount of options Germany have for players in this position is ridiculous, but there's a huge chance that the youngster can definitely shine through and potentially start throughout the tournament. Now for Spain, guys, come on, this is probably the easiest pick for this video. I've gone for Pedri, the center mid for Barcelona. He will be turning 20 years old during the World Cup. Some of you guys even came at me saying he's the best player on the national team at the moment, and I really don't blame you for thinking that. He was nominated as the best young player of the tournament in Euro 2020. His style just simply defines the art of football, and his career is a guaranteed projection of a talent to explode into the football world. Now for Japan, a few options, but this is a pretty easy choice. Takefusa Kubo, 21 years old, belongs to Real Madrid, but last season he played for Mallorca on loan. I wish Madrid had room for him to start because he's an absolute baller. At the moment, he's just been thrown all over to all these different La Liga teams. Hopefully, he's able to settle somewhere soon, as he has a lot of potential to continue to grow, as he has some insanely quick reactions and awareness. Now, for Costa Rica, I've gone for Juisan Benete, who plays, obviously, domestically like most of their players, for Herediano. Costa Rica is obviously filled with veterans. Go-to example is Brian Ruiz, but maybe they can add some extra energy with this kind of young talent, and I think this lad could be the answer for the national team. Now for Croatia. Look at all these young, amazing defenders we have at the moment. Gvardiol, Šutalo, Stanisic. Gvardiol was injured in the last international break, so Šutalo and Stanisic are getting a bit more praise at the moment. But I do think the most reliable choice at the moment for the best young player on the team is Gvardiol, a defender for RB Leipzig, a pretty versatile one as well. He played as a left back during Croatia's Euro 2020 run, and has only seemed to improve since then with his amazing season in the Bundesliga this year. He's very aggressive in his interceptions, pushes up brilliantly, and actually has some solid skills for a defender. I feel like you gotta choose Gvardiol for this role, but I truly hope that Šutalo and Stanisic still blossom. Now for Belgium, there's actually some great talent coming in the attack. In particular, De Ketelaere and Doku. And I might have to choose Jeremy Doku for this video, as he's a pure dynamite going forward. The 20-year-old winger, currently playing for Rennes at the time I'm recording this. He's struggling at the moment with injuries, but during the Euros, he was actually very impressive. Definitely left his mark with many fans in the match against Italy, where obviously Belgium lost. But to me, he was one of the best players on the pitch. Now for Canada, Alphonso Davies is regarded as one of the best players on the national team, and he'll just turn 22 right before the World Cup starts. So easy choice there. He absolutely shines at Bayern, obviously, as a fullback, but for the national team, he plays all over the pitch, primarily in the midfield. Although there's so many other young talents in this side, I do feel like this is a fairly obvious choice, as for many, Alphonso Davies is regarded as the best player on Canada. The only player worth mentioning in my opinion that would qualify for the Young Player of the Tournament award is Theo Corbeanu, but he hasn't been in the squad since the CONCACAF Gold Cup last year. Morocco's a tough call. I would choose the likes of Ez Al-Zaouli or Chadi Riyad, but neither of them have been selected for the senior squad yet. Like I said, there's still plenty of time for the World Cup to start, so if they do, my choice would be Ez Al-Zaouli, a very quick youngster playing up top for Barcelona. He is also a dual national with Spain, but he seems keen to join Morocco. In case these players do not join the squad though for the tournament, my safety option would be Azzedine Ounahi, the 22-year-old midfielder on Angers. He's actually a very underrated midfielder in Ligue 1. Had a solid season in France, obviously, but also he scored twice and assisted once in that final World Cup qualifier match against DR Congo, meaning he directly contributed for 3 out of 4 goals in a match that got them to qualify for the World Cup. Gotta put respect on his name, and I definitely think he deserves a lot of playing time for the World Cup. Now for Brazil, I would have gone to Vinicius Jr., but he's gonna be 22 by the time the World Cup rolls around. And like I said, I'm trying to choose someone who will be eligible for the Young Player Award. Someone who just makes the cut is his Real Madrid teammate, Rodrigo. Rodrigo only has 5 appearances with the senior national team. Obviously not a lot, but when you see how much talent Brazil has up top, it makes sense, but this guy's definitely looking for more. He was a huge impact for Real Madrid in their Champions League run, obviously, being an absolute hero against Manchester City in the dying minutes. He got a whopping 5 goals and 2 assists in 11 appearances in the Champions League. Vinicius Jr. might have a bit more spotlight right now, as he did score the Champions League final goal and all that. Also was a massive contributor to Real Madrid's success this season. Rodrigo is not too far off of him. In fact, Neymar said he's going to be giving him the number 10 once he retires, so hopefully Rodrigo fulfills that big role for the Brazilian national team in the future. I think he will. Now for Serbia, Dusan Vlahovic just falls short as he is going to be 22. An exceptional player at Fiorentina right before the transfer, he equaled Ronaldo's record for the most Serie A goals scored in a single calendar year in 2021. That obviously would have been my go-to, so I decided to go for a center back, Pavlovic, who actually looks to be a promising player. Although Serbia's defense is a bit shaky, maybe once he gains more experience, he can add more solidity to the back. He's 21 years old and just signed for RB Salzburg, and we all know the amazing talent RB Salzburg produces. We've also seen him play in Switzerland, France, and even in Belgium before he left Partizan. He's been bouncing around clubs a lot over the past year or two, but we all know the potential this guy has. Hopefully, he can produce in Austria this year, and for Serbia at the World Cup. Now for Switzerland, there's actually not a huge selection of Swiss players to choose from. I would have chosen Vargas, but I didn't realize he already turned 24. I'm gonna have to choose Zeki Amdoni, the Turkish descent Swiss striker. 21 years old for now, but he will be turning 22 by the time the World Cup starts. He hasn't made his mark for the national team at all yet, actually, but for the Swiss league, he was able to score 12 goals. Like I said, there's not many players to choose from, but still a solid option Switzerland have up top. We'll see how he does. For Cameroon, this lad only just made his debut for the national team in June this year. I've gone for Christopher Wu, the 20-year-old center back for Lens. Cameroon will just able to snatch him as he is also French, and he could definitely help the depth in the center back role since they refused to select Matip for the national team. A very strong and confident player for his age. Maybe he can help his side escape the tough Group G. Now for Portugal, I'm going to have to choose Nuno Mendes, the 20-year-old left back at PSG. He has settled into the footballing world at such a young age and is already settling in his squad for club and country very nicely. Nuno Mendes will most likely be utilized more unless his form just absolutely crashes. He's been looking pretty promising for PSG. He had a great breakout season there, so I'm going to have to choose him for this video. Now for Uruguay, Darwin Núñez and Araujo immediately come to mind, but they're both going to be 23 by the time the World Cup starts. So I've decided to choose Manuel Ugarte, the 21-year-old defensive midfielder on Sporting. Uruguay actually have an insane amount of talent in their early-ish to mid-20s. Also in the midfield, you got Valverde and Bentancur. Ugarte has only had 5 appearances for the national team. It's hard to break through with that talent Uruguay have, but hopefully he can make his mark at the World Cup. His market value is going up a lot, so people are recognizing this lad's talent. For South Korea, I had to resort to a 23-year-old player, Jeong Woo-young. He will be 23 years old once the World Cup begins. He's an attacking midfielder and a forward for Freiburg. This guy used to play for Bayern, and they obviously gave up on him, but Freiburg still believed, and he scored some crucial goals for them this season. Some of them being brilliant as well. We'll see how much attacking power he can add at the World Cup. In Ghana, one of my personal favorites, maybe best for last, I have gone for Abdul Fatawu Issahaku, the 18-year-old attacking midfielder for Sporting. This guy could genuinely be a cheat code for Ghana at the World Cup. He's so electric in everything, very skillful, quick, and I think he might be able to have a solid international tournament even if Ghana cannot make it out of the group stage. I still believe that this lad can impress. The other national teams definitely got to prepare for this guy. He was exceptional against Nigeria in the last qualifier round for Africa. Out of all the players that I mentioned in this video, this might be the biggest one to watch. Call me crazy, sure, but I think Ghana are absolutely blessed to have him, and I cannot wait to see how he does. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts on this list in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new, and please hit that like button if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video very, very soon. Take care. Lacu noite.